Hello everyone. So welcome to this lecture on alternating current. In today's lecture we will learn the basics of LC oscillation. In previous classes we have already learned the functioning of LC-R circuit. Now today we will learn something on LC circuit. For example, you have got an inductor and a capacitor which are connected in parallel to each other. In that case, how exactly the oscillations will take place in the circuit. So that is our motto. This kind of circuit is also known as the tank circuit, or sometimes we also call it a tuned circuit. All right, remember these things. Now in this circuit, as the name suggests, that we have got two components only. One is an inductor L, another is a capacitor C. Now capacitor is initially not charged. So what we do in this particular circuit, we have got a high tension battery connected, and there is a switch which can switch between A to B terminal. So once you connect this to A terminal, what happens? This battery charges up this capacitor. Now we can see that this is positive terminal of the battery, this is negative terminal of the battery, and hence accordingly this capacitor is charged to be positive and negative. All right. Now once this capacitor is fully charged, we disconnect this connection A and connect this switch, or the knob you can say, to B. All right. Now once it is connected to the end B, now this high tension battery is disconnected altogether from this circuit, and we have got only a capacitor connected across an inductor. Now for the time being, let us assume that neither the capacitor nor the inductor has got any resistance. However, that is not entirely true. In real or practical sense, we have always have got a resistance associated with an inductance or a capacitor. But let us for the time being assume that the resistance values are to be negligible. In that case, what will happen? Because the capacitor is charged, it will discharge immediately through this inductor, because this will now act as a battery, because it has got one plate to be fully charged with positive charges, and the next plate, the bottom plate, is completely charged with negative charges. So what will happen? The charges will flow, or current will flow in this particular path. Okay, that means counterclockwise. Now once the charges start flowing and current increases in the circuit, all right, and hence we know that magnetic flux associated with this link will change, or because of this current you will get a magnetic field surrounding this inductor, and an EMF will be generated, and that EMF will basically do what? That will restrict the flow of current, that will tend to restrict the flow of current. Now once these charges are completely dried up, that means total charge supplied by this capacitor is 0. In that case, we get the current to be maximum. That means current will, if we take a oscillation, or if we take the profile of the current out of this, we will see that current actually oscillates in a sinusoidal fashion. I will show this in the next slide. Now when the current will become maximum, the current will become maximum whenever we have got these charges on the capacitor to be fully drained. Now once the current reaches maximum, it immediately doesn't come back to 0. Although there is no charge to be supplied by the capacitor, yet then current doesn't fall off to the 0 level instantaneously. Why? Because when the current tends to fall, the EMF which was initially restricting the flow of current now changes its direction and supports the flow of current. Why? Because magnetic flux will then start to reduce, and according to Lenz's law, the EMF will be generated across the inductor, which will also oppose that particular phenomena. That means it will not tend to allow the magnetic flux to decrease. So what you need to do? It needs to flow the current in the same direction. Now interestingly, what you do not have any charges on the capacitor, but still current continues to flow in the same direction. Now the same direction of current this time is because of the back EMF which is generated across the inductor, not because of the charges of the capacitor. So same directional current flows because of two reasons. One is by these charges, the actual charges of the capacitor which flow through this inductor. Because of that, you get the current to shoot up from 0 to some maximum value, and again from maximum value current falls up to 0. but flow in the same direction, and that is because of the back EMF produced across the inductor. Alright. Now, because of that current, the capacitor once again gets charged but in the reverse direction. That means if the front plate was positive, bottom plate was negative initially, now the bottom plate will become positive and the front plate will become negative. Alright, and this cycle will continue. So this will give you the required oscillation of the current, which we obtain generally from the LC oscillation. Now, to get a better picture or from this particular figure, let us concentrate on this particular graph. So here we show the variation of the total charge and the variation of the current. So the blue line shows the variation of the current, and this yellow or orange line, it shows the variation of the charges. Now if we consider the time period of oscillation, that means time taken for one complete oscillation of current, then we can divide this into 4 consecutive time. One is 0, then t by 4, then t by 2, and thrice t by 4, because back in the time t, once again the same phenomena will occur. Okay, so let us observe what happens in different time instances. So when time t equal to 0, the capacitor is just connected to the circuit and the capacitor was fully charged as shown in this figure. The capacitor is completely charged and just connected to the circuit across the inductor. At time t is equal to t by 4, the current is maximum in the circuit and the capacitor is completely discharged. So at current time t is equal to t by 4, means 1/4 of the total time period, the capacitor is completely discharged. Alright, all the charges on the capacitor are drained through the inductor. Now at this point there is something significant happens, and that significant thing is here the complete conversion of the electrostatic energy to magnetic energy is done. Now capacitor is a device which is known for storing up the electrostatic energy, and inductor is known for storing up the magnetic energy. So at this point the complete conversion of electrostatic energy to magnetic energy happens. Now just after t is equal to t by 4, since the capacitor is not capable of supplying any charge, current tends to fall sharply, and hence the magnetic flux linked with the inductor. But as soon as the magnetic flux linked with the coil changes, an EMF is induced in the circuit or in the inductor. So by Lenz's law, the EMF is induced in such a way that it resists the fall of current in the circuit and tries to flow the current in the same direction as before. Suppose the current was initially flowing in the clockwise direction, now also the induced EMF will allow the current to flow in the same direction, that means in the anti-clockwise direction. I am sorry, current was initially flowing anti-clockwise direction, and now when the capacitor is also drained, capacitor charges are completely drained, current will continue to flow in the anti-clockwise direction under the effect of this back EMF. Alright. So this back EMF current will do what? It will charge up the capacitor in a reverse direction. That means here you can see at t is equal to t by 4, t by 2, half of the time period, the capacitor is now charged in a reverse direction. Initially the positive charges were here, now it is here. Now after t is equal to t by 2, now this plate is positive. Now here one more thing has happened. The magnetic energy which was stored in the inductor now has got converted into electrostatic energy once again back into the capacitor. And now what will happen at thrice t by 4? This capacitor will once again get discharged in the opposite direction, current will flow, and again at time t is equal to t back, the capacitor will be charged in the previous direction, that means as it was there in time t is equal to 0. So the status of the circuit at time t equal to 0 and time t is equal to capital T, that is the time period, are the same. Whatever change has to happen, that occurs in between the intermediate times, that means t by 4, t by 2, and thrice t by 4. Alright, this is t by 2, basically this is actually twice t by 4, so 2 cancels the 4 and there is a 2 remains, so this is t by 2. Alright, and the total current and charge corresponding to each time level is shown over this particular graph. Okay, now this is a very interesting thing. So this oscillations means what actually? Here oscillations means the oscillations of the energy. Once you have got the electrostatic energy stored in the capacitor, then it becomes a magnetostatic energy stored in the inductor, and again back from the magnetic energy we get electrostatic energy back to the capacitor, and this continues. means electrostatic energy to magnetic energy and magnetic energy to electrostatic energy. This conversion cycle continues, and that's what actually gives you the oscillation. Remember this, here we do not have any other external source of voltage, neither do we have any resistance connected across these things. So this is a very special category of circuit which we call to be LC circuit or a tank circuit. Now let us come to some practical sense. Now practically what should I have got? I have got the current to be given by this, means a very nice oscillation should be maintained in the circuit. Current should rise and fall periodically, maintaining the same amplitude. But in real practice this does not happen. The current rises, but gradually if you allow, then the current will fall and fall off to zero. That means if you allow this oscillation to run for a longer amount of time, you will not get the same value of the current and oscillations will gradually stop. Why this actually happens? Theoretically this should not have happened, but in practical sense this happens because electrical energy is lost in the DC or the real resistance of the inductor's coil. Because inductor coil, already I said that we have assumed that inductor coils are having no resistance, but in reality inductor coils have got some kind of a resistance. So whenever current flows through that, it offers some resistance to the flow of the current. As a result, some heat will be generated, and heat energy lost means it's a loss of the electrical energy, isn't it? So electrical energy is lost in the DC or the real resistance of the inductor coil, or it can also get lost in the dielectrics of the capacitor and in the radiation from the circuit. So electrical energy which was initially there was stored in the capacitor. So as soon as the current flows through the circuit, either it can give you radiation, because of which energy can drain out of the circuit, or the current will get some resistance to flow through the inductor coils, there it can get some resistance, so thereby it will generate heat and it will be a loss, or in fact in the dielectrics of the capacitor also it can loss. So ultimately energy gradually goes drained away. So as energy gets drained away, the current oscillation will fall off and it will fall off to zero eventually after a longer amount of time. So therefore, in a practical LC circuit, the amplitude of the oscillatory voltage decreases at each half cycle of the oscillation and will eventually die away to zero. The oscillations are then said to be damped, with the amount of damping being determined by the quality factor or the Q factor of the circuit. Now in the LCR circuit we already have discussed about the Q factor. We know about what is meant by the quality, what is meant by the bandwidth of a circuit, and we also have come across this fact that as the bandwidth decreases of a circuit, the quality factor increases. So it depends in this case also how the quality of the circuit is, how much. If it is a high quality circuit, then the oscillations will continue for a much longer amount of time. For example, if you compare these two circuits, here the oscillations have drained very fast as compared to the previous circuit. So here the quality is high as compared to this particular circuit. Okay, so this is heavily damped, shorter time circuit, and this is lightly damped, or longer time circuit. Okay, but whatever be the case, damping is a necessity. Damping is a necessary thing, or an important thing, or you can say it will definitely happen. It is I mean there is no alternative to this. You cannot escape damping. Damping will always be there. Why? Because there will be losses associated with the energy in various forms as discussed. All right, now what to do with that? In any kind of an LC circuit is designed to get oscillation, damping will always be there. So what we do to sustain an oscillation? We design an amplifier. Now amplifier is a circuit which amplifies a signal. Suppose in this case you can see this is an amplifier. You have given a very smaller signal. Now this is amplified, means amplitude is increased to much higher extent. So in this case also what we get, we take a small amount of output of the oscillatory circuit. That output circuit is amplified, and through a feedback circuit it is fed to the circuit once again. So let me go in between these lines. To keep the oscillations going in an LC tank circuit, we have to replace all the energy lost in each oscillation and also maintain the amplitude of these oscillations at a constant level. The amount of energy replaced must therefore be equal to the energy lost during each cycle. All right. So I hope this part is clear. Now, if the energy replaced is too large, the amplitude would increase until clipping of the supply rails occur. For example, here you can see if I supply or if I amplify more energy, suppose whatever has been damping occurred into the circuit, we have suppose analyzed and we have fed it little bit larger signal. In that case, what will happen? We will have something called gain parameter that will be greater than 1 and oscillations will grow gradually. Okay, this is something we do not want. We want sustained oscillation. This is a perfect condition which we want. We neither want this nor want this. All right. So alternately, if the amount of energy replaced is too small, the amplitude will eventually decrease to 0 over time and oscillations will stop. So in that case, we will say that gain is less than 1. The simplest way of replacing this lost energy is to take part of the output, take a small part of the output from the LC tank circuit and amplify it and then feed it back into the LC circuit again. So you will first take a small output, amplify the signal and then feed it back to the LC circuit. Okay, so that it goes in phase with the oscillations of the LC circuit, so that you just analyze how much of the damping has occurred and just maintaining in phase or maintaining that particular quantity is, I mean, in a smaller sense, you just feed it back to the circuit back. All right, that means what I mean to say is that you analyze the output signal, get an idea how much of the damping has occurred, amplify some amount of signal and feed it back to the circuit. So whatever has been drained, that amount of energy once again you have fed it to the circuit. And this can be done either by the application of an op-amp, which is called operational amplifier, or field effect transistors, FET, or any bipolar junction transistors, okay, as an active device. So this is basically a way how to sustain an oscillation. All right, because energy drain away will always be there. Now, once again, coming back to the resonance condition in LC circuit, the condition of resonance happens to be the same as in LCR circuit, that inductive reactance should be equal to the capacitive reactance, and once we balance them, we get this particular frequency. So if you just plot it, this is the inductive reactance, this line, straight line, this is the capacitive reactance. Wherever they cut each other, that is what is the condition of resonance. At that frequency, we get a resonance. All right. And this is a code in MATLAB that I have written, which also basically shows the same plot for various values of L. L we have considered to be 8 millihenry. Capacitance we have considered to be 0.33 microfarad. And frequency I have varied from 1000 to 10,000 hertz at an interval of 10 hertz. And we have plotted the XL and XC, which is basically the inductive and the capacitive reactance. So this is the capacitive reactance, which falls off like this as inverse function of 1 upon omega c, and this rises as a linear function of omega L. So at this point they cut each other, and that is a value, appropriate value of frequency, that means 3090 hertz. That is what is the frequency at which the resonance will occur. All right, so that's all we had in this particular lecture. Please go through this. There are some mathematical derivations associated with LC circuit, which we will take up in another lecture. Okay, thank you so much.